This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by Greenworks Consults, a company run by longtime listener to the show, Jason, who's an expert when it comes to helping businesses get better at doing business. Learn more about what Greenworks Consults is up to over at greenworksconsults.com, with works spelled W-O-R-X. That's greenworksconsults.com. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Tuesday, April 28th, 2020, and you're tuned in to episode 923 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Today's a bit of a strange news day in that, with the exception of our very last headline, every story comes from either Marijuana Business Daily or Marijuana Moments. That speaks to the strength of both publications, but also to the relative dearth of professional coverage of our industry. We need more. Just a quick observation before we get into the news. Marijuana Business Daily holds all of today's top spots, leading off with a longer form story that you will definitely need to read in full, looking into the federal subpoena issued last month to marijuana listing website Weedmaps. That story broke at the beginning of March, but John Schroyer over at Marijuana Business Daily recently got a copy of the actual subpoena, which is published in full in his story. As John lays out, the demands listed in the federal subpoena are extensive and wide-ranging, hinting at a possible large-scale criminal investigation that's being led by the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of California, McGregor Scott. It's also within the realm of possibility that this subpoena turns up nothing of note and the entire matter gets dropped, but it's certainly worth paying attention to in the meantime while the whole thing resolves. Again, read this story. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. Yesterday, Chicago-based company Cresco Labs said it was canceling a previously announced deal to acquire vertically integrated marijuana company TriCo, which has operations in both Nevada and Arizona. The abandoned deal was worth north of $280 million, so its scuttling is a proper big headline. Crisco will pay Tryke $1.25 million in equity as a termination fee, with Crisco CEO Charlie Bachtell blaming the scuttled deal in a press release on, quote, regulatory delays, a decline in capital markets, and now COVID-19, which brought additional risk to this transaction, unquote. The announcement came in tandem on the day with Cresco also releasing its latest quarterly results, which saw it realize a net loss of $45.2 million for the fourth quarter of 2019, built on just over $41 million in revenue. John Schroyer is back to bookend today's top stories, this time looking at how the ongoing coronavirus pandemic is affecting the legal marijuana industry in California, which, despite some headlines screaming of booming business, is actually not in super stellar shape. While there's certainly some Golden State legal cannabis operators that have seen steady increases in business over the last month or two, the overall trend for the industry in the state seems to be that of struggle. John spoke with numerous industry execs and pulled data from cannabis distributor Flow Canna for his story that I would highly encourage you to read, even if you're not based yourself in California. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Greenworks Consults, a company run by longtime listener to the show, Jason, who's an expert when it comes to helping businesses get better at doing business. That's kind of important these days, as every single dollar going out the door needs to be leaving for a very good reason. Jason and his team of experts will help you examine all the ways that you do business with an eye on doing it more efficiently, which will cost you less and increase the amount of profits you have to work with. If any business is to survive and thrive these days, it needs to be run like a finely tuned and calibrated machine, which requires process experts like Jason and his team at Greenworks Consults. Take a few minutes right now, pause the show, and open up greenworksconsults.com to read all the different ways that Jason and his fellow experts can help you do business better. That's greenworksconsults.com, with works spelled W-O-R-X. All right, time for the Blitz. Kyle Yeager grabs marijuana moments, first moment on the day, with a check-in with activists in Oregon seeking to place a psilocybin mushroom legalization ballot measure before voters in the fall. As Kyle has it, the effort currently has just enough signatures of support to qualify, but since those signatures have not yet been verified, organizers would like to get another 15,000 or so as a buffer. In order to do that, in these days of social distancing, activists are planning a campaign organized around video calling to encourage people to fill out and mail in petition signatures. This is another good one to read in full, as this is a pretty clever response to a pretty terrible situation. A subsidiary of Canadian banking giant Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce just cut its forecast for 2020 adult use sales in that nation by $645 million, citing the slower than anticipated rollout of legal adult use shops in certain Canadian provinces, as well as the overall dampened retail environment caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Pop over there for more numbers and details. Kyle's back with another headline related to the process of collecting signatures of support for marijuana-related ballot measures. This time we jump to Montana, where activists are trying to put an adult use measure before voters in the fall, but are being opposed by the state attorney general and secretary of state, both Republican, it almost goes without saying, who are opposed to the request made by activists that they be allowed to gather signatures of support electronically. Gallingly, the regressive Republicans argued in a legal response to the request that the activists should have gathered signatures earlier and that election law is not to be affected in any way by difficulties imposed by the coronavirus pandemic. Give this one a read. Embattled executive Hadley Ford has resigned as CEO of multi-state cannabis operator iAnthus after an investigation found that he improperly failed to disclose certain loans he took out with investors involved with larger deals with iAnthus, the corporation. This is another story you should read in full if you want all the details, but in short, Mr. Ford, for instance, took a $100,000 personal no-interest loan from Gotham Green Partners just a day after closing on a finance deal for iAnthus worth $36 million. That $100,000 loan was supposed to have been paid back in March, but was not, alongside a $4.4 million interest payment iAnthus was supposed to have paid, but again, did not. Marijuana Business Daily has more here if you need it. With his third of four stories today, Kyle highlights a letter sent yesterday to congressional leaders by a coalition of civil rights and marijuana reform activist groups urging that legal marijuana businesses be given access to coronavirus pandemic-related government support. Regular listeners will know that currently the federal government is barring all legal marijuana operators, even ancillary businesses, like, say, a small publishing company making podcasts, from tapping into programs like the Paycheck Protection Program. In a detailed letter sent to the leaders of the House and Senate, the coalition, which includes Students for Sensible Drug Policy, the ACLU, Drug Policy Alliance, and Human Rights Watch, among others, wrote in part, quote, financial relief must be extended to these businesses that a majority of governors and other government officials have deemed essential at this moment. It is our hope that you will support changes in the next COVID-19 legislative package that will allow state-licensed small businesses access to these resources so that they may protect their workers and communities they serve. Unquote. And well said. One last Kyle Yeager story, with New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham saying during a press conference held last week that she wished her state had gotten around to legalizing adult use marijuana before the coronavirus pandemic hit, as it would have injected a whole lot of money into her budget during a time when there's a whole lot of money going out or not coming in the first place. New Mexico is estimated to see $100 million in adult use sales tax revenue in a first year of legalization. Open up Kyle's story for more here and to see a video of Governor Lujan Grisham's regretful remarks. With the sole story in the day not published by Marijuana Moment or Marijuana Business Daily, we have Block Club Chicago checking in on a story out of Illinois with workers with the aforementioned Cresco Labs organizing to join a union. Organizers with the Local 881 of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union began the process of representing Crisco workers earlier this month, with a final vote on the matter to come soon. Workers say unionization is needed all the more given Crisco's response to the pandemic, with some managers telling their workers not to wear masks as recently as April 19th, just over a week ago. Give this one a read as well. Those are the headlines and news on the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Greenworks Consults, and to our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.